What you got?
Go get my phone, baby. Oh, you want me to cut your hair real fast? We need to spray it down.
All right, we're live now.
Ugh.
What?
Bye.
See ya.
I guess this. I don't know. Man, I still kind of get weird about how we do. I thought this is how I always did it. Was just on the StreamYard deal on. Hey. On. Oh, she over there hollering. So what are you doing? Everyone's watching. People are getting off because we're just sitting here. What are you doing? Who's that with you?
Who's what with me? My dog?
Yeah.
Little chocolate lab. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. What you got? Bring me something. Right here. What you got? That's my little hunting buddy. You can't get him in there, but
everyone knows it.
We got 3 weeks till season, so he's ready to retrieve something.
I don't know what that is. Yeah, usually people start commenting by now. That's usually because I don't even keep any of this stuff. I don't even come up with topics or anything. When is y'all's next tournament? Where is it at?
South Dakota, Lake Hawaii. And I went.
Didn't y'all go there?
Yeah, we went there in 2018, but we're going out of someplace different. But it's like a couple hours north of there, from my understanding. I'm not even sure where we're going. I just know we're going there. So it was interesting last time because it was so. I mean, there's nothing around the place. You can't find gas on the water. It's very, out there in the middle of nowhere, pretty much. And fishing was okay, but
was that the one? Was that the one that's kind of like a giant river?
Pretty much. I mean, it was big though. I mean, it's really, really, really wide. Like the biggest. I think it's the 4th largest reservoir in America. But
it's a river. Well, I just remember. I think if this is the one where they were, like, it makes kind of like a lot of S curves through there, and like people were like fishing points. Like people were in sections of that place, right?
Yeah, I think it was Bobby Lane said, I just ran till my motor got close to half a tank, started fishing, and ran back. That's what you did because you couldn't find gas anywhere out there. But I don't remember there being a lot of bends. I just remember that thing ran north to south, and that third day, like the wind blew out of the north or south like 20 or 30 miles an hour, and it was unreal how rough that thing got. I'm trying to look here and see.
Well, there you go, right there. Have you? He wanted to know that, David. I mean, I didn't know if.
What's that? Is there any gas on the north end y'all taking out this year, or y'all still limited? I'm really not sure. I'm not even sure. I think we're going out of Mobridge, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not sure if there's any gas there or not.
Could y'all make it up? Could y'all make it up there to where y'all are going out of?
Oh, no, we couldn't even. No, you're talking about long ways. Like I'm trying to bring it up here, like how many miles it would be from where we had put in at like Cow Creek to up there, and you're talking about a long run. Let's see. Mobridge. Where's Mobridge?
This guy said, Dustin said there's gas by the bridge.
Gas by the bridge. That's good to know.
I don't know what bridge he's talking about. I don't know. I don't know that place. I don't know if there's like.
So it's pretty much 70 miles from where we went out last time.
Okay.
In a straight line. That's not taking out,
the curves.
Curves and stuff, but in a straight line, like 70 miles. So it's a long way. It's a big, like I said, it's a big lake.
There's only one. Okay. There's only one bridge,
I was at 30 mile an hour winds and wide. There's a gas by the bridge. Yeah, that place gets windy. What's the weirdest thing you ever caught on the water, Todd?
Man, oh God. So I got a video which was pretty cool. I put out a video of where like over like the last 2 years of stuff I caught. I caught a big giant. I've caught 2 cranes before. One on Conroe and then one on Rayburn. I got the one on Rayburn on video. I was throwing a mega dog and without hooks on it, right? Because we were practicing.
Yeah.
And most of those cranes, you know, they don't go down, like they'll go down and look at something, but they won't actually like hit it. This thing hit it and then it wrapped around it, right? Just the braid.
Yeah.
So when I got it in, I didn't mind putting it on video because like I showed everyone, I'm like, hey, look, I didn't hurt this thing. There's no hooks on this thing. It just got wrapped around it. And anyways, yeah, I've caught 2 of those. I've caught an owl. He didn't like that. I haven't caught a dog yet. There's a couple dogs I kind of wanted to throw at one time that just, you know, those, I'm not a big fan of the dogs that bark, that the owner sits up there and lets them bark for like 30 minutes at you. I'm not a big fan of those. My dogs are like your dogs. They were always trained real good. But
the weirdest thing I ever caught was at Lake Hawaii, and I'm out there dropping a drop shot around. I was dragging it, wind or current, I can't remember, but I was just dragging along like you would like St. Lawrence or something. I was in like 20 foot, and like I'm sitting there just holding it, it's ticking the bottom. All of a sudden it gets a little heavy, and I pull on it, and it like pulls back real quick. And I'm like, dang, I got one. And I would pull it till it got real tight, and then it would start going like this. It'd dig, and then just quit. And I pull it, and then it would start digging. And I got it up, and it was a spear gun. And I hooked it through the rubber bands of the spear gun. And when I pull that spear gun tight, the bands would get tight, and then it would start like pulling back, and then I'd get tight. But that's the weirdest thing I've ever caught. I still got it. I kept that thing.
What? I was thinking fish. I got it, but this was the coolest fish I've ever caught. So this year on Texoma, I was throwing this like strike. I was working on this bait for Strike King, this like crankbait. I might even have told you a little bit about it. I can't remember. Anyway, it's kind of like a wiggle wart. Did I tell you about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going down the bank and I started throwing this thing and I hook into something. And I mean, like first or second, not with it there, but like I hadn't thrown it all day. Throw it, and I'm like, oh man, I got something, you know. And I'm thinking, all right, cool. I want to see what it is, just because it's cool to catch fish on a different bait. Well, anyways, it starts taking off, and I'm like, gosh dang it. Well, it's the only one I have. It's the only prototype I have of this thing. So it goes out there, and long story short, because it's a long story, I ended up fighting it for over an hour and a half. I landed it a mile and a half away. Not a mile and a half away, a mile from where I hooked it out in the middle of Texoma. And it was like a 50 or 60 pound, one of them big giant carp. But here's the cool thing. I never hooked it. My line, somebody had broke off an old school wiggle wart on the top fin.
Not good.
And my line got caught up in went through this, the split ring where the hook is on the wiggle wart on top. And so my hooks were never in it. All it was in was the line with Sunline. Everyone was like, dude, that's a great. I told Valster, I was like, dude, this is a great Sunline freaking promotion. But it got hung up in the split ring where the hook is. And I got that thing in, got pictures of it, got the wiggle wart.
You got the wiggle wart too?
Oh, yeah, I got the wiggle wart too. Huh?
And it was an old one?
Yeah, it was an old school one. Like I got the whole thing on video. Like I put it out on video like a couple months ago.
That's awesome.
But well, hold on, I guess. See, like I gotta, like he's gonna talk about your dog. He's talking about dove season.
Stephen King knows dove season.
Yeah, Stephen, like, listen, David's dog is okay. He's not as good as my retrievers. I'm just telling you right now. I've got 2 of them. They're dead on. They mind fairly well. You got to keep them. You got to keep them fed. Candy works really well. Michael, as long as he has candy out there, he'll go pick up every dove you got. That's the one thing I love, is get my kids. That way they can freaking go pick up dove.
Caught a beaver a couple weeks ago at night.
Dude, I don't at night, dude. I bet you that they're having some tournament. Russell was talking to me today, and they have some. You're talking about some Ironman tournament today on Rayburn. or this weekend. And I was like, how come we're not in this thing? Like, we ain't got nothing to do. And he didn't know about it. I didn't know. I'm like, how's the tournament on Rayburn? I don't know about it. It's a $500 event. And I don't know how many people got in it, but then I looked up and it was freaking a night deal. They call it the Ironman, but I guess they're fishing. Huh?
All night.
Yeah, but it's like 2 days or something. So you get a 4-hour break. So I don't know when it starts and when it goes to.
That'd be too much for me.
What is this? Another beaver?
To beaver flipping bushes on Toledo. That's probably the only thing you're catching on Toledo anymore.
Yeah.
That was like my favorite lake to go to. I'm just telling you, it was the best. And the year they sprayed everything, it was like a heartbreaker. Couldn't go out there and slide hardly.
They sprayed it and it flood, and the floods what really killed it. In my opinion, the only thing, they can say whatever they want to, but the only thing I'll talk about is that like grass only grows over there now, and like it's starting back. Like there's one place on that lake where grass will go first before everywhere else, and I heard it's there. And then it'll start kind of halfway spreading out. But there's no way that lake should everywhere not grow grass. So like they did something too, because they killed the bushes. Like that stuff that they sprayed on it, they say it doesn't sink and all that stuff, but I don't care what they say. It killed bushes because it would, when the water, they just sprayed all the bushes too. So it killed bushes, it killed all the hay grass, it killed everything. And I think something goes on, like on our lakes down here, since they fluctuate, like when Rayburn goes low, the longer it stays low, it'll fermate that ground. Like it gets sunlight, it dries up the actual lake, the ground. And then when it comes back, grass will grow better, right? Yeah. When it gets low. Toledo's low. I don't know if it's gotten low as long, but I mean, when it gets low, it should fermate that grass again. And it's like it's not doing it. And I swear that's because of them spraying it. That's just because I just don't understand why a lake that fertile all of a sudden becomes not fertile anymore.
Same way with St. John's, man. That place was like phenomenal. And then you go there now and it's just a shadow of what it used to be. And they sprayed the cattails down there, all the reeds and stuff. Like when we were down there, when everybody caught the big weights down there a few years ago, won a second time, like there wasn't just a handful of stuff in the water. That's what every fish was on because there wasn't much to get on. But you could go through an area and pitching around, you're like, why is these cattails all brown? And it's just where they were sprayed and killed. And now they're reaping the, consequences of it right now because the fishing's not even close to what it used to be.
Yeah, I didn't the carp thing. I mean, I think they couldn't put enough carp in that thing to, like, they put carp in Conroe, but I mean, Conroe's like 26,000. Toledo's 180 something. Like, I don't think the carp have nothing to do with that thing. I'm not saying that they didn't. I mean, he didn't really say that has anything to do with it. I guess he just said they released carp in Toledo. I don't know why they would.
Yeah, it's
he can answer that one. I already know the answer to that one.
Insurance for fishermen. We're on our own, big guy.
Yeah.
Straight out of pocket, David G. But if you got a health insurance company you want to sponsor an angler, just hit me up after the show.
Man, so I don't know if anyone knows this. So you were a coach before you started fishing, right?
Oh yeah.
So
high school teacher and basketball coach.
Did you go into it right out of college?
No, dude, it's funny. Like I'm getting ready to graduate, or just graduated high school. Don't really know what I'm going to do. Meet Aaron Martins right after I graduate, and then them become friends, whatever. And I'm like, Aaron, what? We got to talk about something. And he's like, I always wanted to fish, but I never, ever thought I could be able to fish for a living. I mean, it just wasn't in our vocabulary because we were so blue collar and we didn't have an over excess of any, fancy stuff, But I remember him saying one time, like he said, yeah, all these companies really like people with marketing degrees. And he didn't tell me to go get a marketing degree or anything, but like I'm going through there and I'm like, I want to get me a marketing degree. So I went to East Tennessee State and got a marketing degree. and realized there ain't jack you can do really around here with a marketing degree in East Tennessee. So I went and worked here and there, and ended up working as an armed security at a military facility real close to the house for 4 or 5 years, and fished while I was doing that. And then I was like, hey, I'm gonna go back, and because one of my partners I fished with was a teacher, and he was all-fall summer. He was like the best structure fisherman around because he's all-fall summer. That's all I did. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going back and get my teaching certificate. So I went back to another school and got most of my master's done, and then got my teaching certificate. And I taught high school business courses, economics, accounting, finance, computers, stuff like that. So and I only got to teach a year. And the principal, when I'd already registered for the opens. Mark had already taught me in the fishing opens. He's like, dude, you could do it, because he come up and fished with me. And he's like, man, you could do it if you want to. And they announced that schedule. So me and him signed up together, and where I could travel with him. And they called me in school started in August. He called me mid-August. The principal did, and said, you want a job? I was like, yeah, I need a job. He said, well, come in here and you're hired. Just be here Monday morning. So they hired me over the phone. So I went in for my interview process, I guess, on Monday, started teaching on Tuesday. And I was like, listen, man, I said, I've already got these, it might have been September. It's somewhere August, September. I said, I've already got these opens I've paid for and getting in next year. And he's like, we'll make it work. So he let me off. We used whatever sick time, whatever I could use. And, qualified first year doing it. So I only got to teach a year. And then I was like, you know what? I might never ever qualify again. I'm going to take a chance. And everything, it's like I said, God has a purpose for everything. But it was funny that fall when he hired me on, I had just won the Classic on Cherokee and Douglas. And they fished one day Cherokee, one day Douglas, because they're only 9 miles apart in the local tournament, biggest tournament we had around here. And the winner got a brand new Ranger boat. And I, for 13, 14 years, had fished out of an 18.5-foot Triton. And I remember I won that boat, and this is how everything lines up in a plan. And I won that boat. I fished out of that boat for a year, qualified through the opens out of that boat, and then sold that boat for my entry fees. So if I wouldn't have won that boat, I probably couldn't have done it. So that's how just everything went perfect for me to even make it. Like it's
how old were you?
I don't even remember. That was 2000. My first year was 14, so that was in 13.
Oh, was it?
So I was, I don't know, 30, 31, 32, 33.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're close to my age. Like I remember, like mine was, I was a year. I needed 2011. No, 2010 and 2011 switched for me because I qualified in 2009. Or I needed 2009. I qualified in 2009, won a boat in 2010. And because like I couldn't have done it in 2000. I mean, I guess I could have. I would have had to have risked everything. But even after I qualified, like it went downhill from there. Not downhill, but it wasn't going. Well, hold on. No, 2009 was when. Oh, never mind. 2000. Oh, that's why I didn't do it. 2009 is when I got married.
Blaming on Brett.
Yeah. I got married in 2009, but the problem was at the beginning of 2009. So I'll have to tell the story about Toledo Bend was the first open I ever fished. And anyways, long story short, like it was the most miserable, horrible thing ever. That was my last tournament I was ever going to fish in my life. Was that one? I'd probably fished 400 tournaments up to that, 300 tournaments, 200, whatever. And I was going to be the last one. I was out. I was done. I just couldn't keep up with my boat and everything breaking down. It cost me more every week to fix my boat. Anyways, long story short, yeah, when I qualified and I came in third in that open, and I think I asked, it wasn't too much later because I won like 20 grand. I was like, all right, now I'm not going to just bring down Brittany with like this fishing deal because that's what I was kind of worried about. And then right after that, we won another tournament, like a pretty big deal. And then I made another top 10 in a Toyota. but I had already kind of turned that. Oh yeah, I hadn't qualified yet. So we had like got married in July, had all this stuff, and then I kind of almost didn't have any more money again, and then I qualified for the elites, and I was sitting here going, because my wife and my family was more important than like buying a new boat.
Yeah.
So I qualified, turned it all down. Then 2010 won a boat. Then 2011, like 2011 through 14 was like some of the most incredible years of fishing I've ever had. I just needed all that and then to qualify.
Right.
But it was it's crazy. So you only did it for 1 year. The reason I bring that up is so you still had jobs. I didn't have a job for all them times. Yeah. So I winged it, boy. I mean, sick, hurt. Like you just didn't get sick or hurt.
So I remember
for years you just couldn't. Yeah, I just don't know what it is.
So to answer bring up more on what David Gardner asked right there, like, so I make the elites and I'm like, you know what? Thank God I'm finally going to get some reels. I'm finally going to get some rods. I'm going to get some sponsorship, and I'm going to have some blah, 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 blah. And dude, like it's the biggest misconception to the public about like what all goes down, because like everybody thinks that we get free boats and blah, blah. And should we? Yeah, we should. A lot of us should. But like the amount of people that get free boats is very, very, minuscule. It's minute. There is not many people get free boats. Dude, it took me, this is the first year, and I've been on the elites since 2014. This is the first year where I've had a real deal. So Shimano, this is the first year I've worked with a real deal company.
Oh, I thought you meant like a REAL deal.
Just with reels and rods.
Yeah.
I worked with rods with Doomsday for the last 3 years, but this is the first year I've been using reels that, dude, I've had since like 2003. I had old Daiwas that were like Daiwa Zillions that I still throw chatterbaits on it until this year. And thank God, because they had some mileage on them, but I finally got some really good equipment where this is the first year I've had, full sets of reels and rods that are brand new ever. And it took me this long. And it's just like, even if you do make it, it's like nothing's given to you. And that's probably the biggest misconception to the public. Is like you see a lot of comments and I don't get on social media a whole lot, but like even when I do, and there'll be like something happens where there'll be a lot of comments and somebody will send me something and I'll go through the comments and reading that stuff. And it's like, people just have no clue about like what it really like. I mean, I slept out of the back of my truck and slept in Aaron Martin's little camper for 4 years, just to save money and just to be able to do it. I mean, heck, when we went to California, I about went broke out there because we had to drive all the way out there to fish the the Delta, and then come back to fish Havasu. And I remember when I left the Delta, because I did not catch them there, and I only fished 2 lakes here at the house and qualified. It's Cherokee and Douglas. That's all I knew. I didn't know anything about grass fishing or the rest of this kind of stuff, finesse fishing, some finesse, but like the only thing I knew was Cherokee and Douglas. So it took me several years to figure out how to catch them on all these places. But, when I left the California Delta going to Havasu, I only had like $1,000 to my name. And if I didn't get a check at Havasu, there's no way I would have continued. Luckily, I got a check there, and then Abart ended up winning the event there. So it's so much different from what it really is what the public thinks it is. It's nothing's easy and nothing's given to you, as far as wasn't to me. And
I don't think, it's not to you. It wasn't to me either. Cause like I got 50% off reels up until a couple of years ago. And what was weird is I was like fishing Rayburn, I'd qualified for the elites. I think I guess I might have been getting them maybe right at the time I fished the tour, which was a couple, 4 years ago. Maybe it was before then. But what was weird is like you said, like I had probably won 30 tournaments going up to that, won a couple AOYs, done all this stuff, and I was getting like 50% off, and I wasn't upset about it, but I was talking to these like high school kids and these college kids that they were like through high school fishing and college, that they were getting 50% off reels, and I'm like, they never even like cashed a check in a tournament before, and I'm just here going, all right, something's off. you know, and yeah, like, and maybe I was off, maybe it was me, but I was just going, man, this, like you said, they just assume, even for me, I wasn't even fishing like at your level, and they just like, oh, you're getting all this stuff, and I'm like, no, man, I'm getting nothing. Like it, and it didn't matter how many more tournaments I won. Like I got, people knew me, but within the industry, it's kind of a weird deal, and I guess you've kind of saw that too about how it I don't know how to explain it, because I'm sure there's guys on the elites wondering the same thing, going, how come I'm on the elites and I'm not getting, you know, that certain deals are good and then other deals are just, you know, they'll probably meet some guy that wins BFLs. It still blows me away that guys are like, yeah, man, you know, I think I'm gonna go fish the tour next year. I'm like, really? Like, yeah, I think I got someone, you know, paying my entry fees, and I'm going, how like I've never seen them win a tournament, and I'm just going, how in the world did they find this, like these people? Because
and do they have friends or they want to do anybody else?
yeah, because I'm just sitting here going,
so hard.
There's a lot of guys, and I mean, and what's funny is I know some of these guys, and they're actually doing fairly good. Like one guy I know is doing fairly good, but I mean, it was just funny because he was like, well, I got everything paid for, like everything. I'm like, what do you mean everything? Like entry fees, travel, all this stuff. And I'm just going, like,
it blows your mind. Just like,
well, yeah, and I'm not dogging on the fact that he hadn't won a tournament around, you know, but I was just going, like, no one's ever heard of him to a degree, and I just don't, man, I don't know, it was just weird to me, and I was going, all right. Hey, I wanted to, like, there was a whole, I'm way bad on comments because we talked a whole bunch. Just real quick on the whole Toledo deal. Like all the time. So look, if y'all don't know, they're not spraying hydrilla, they're spraying Salvania, which is really bad down here. And so they sprayed it all. And it's only supposed to float, and it's only supposed to kill the stuff, but man, it's a big long deal, man. They got it out from what I'm trying to say. It's not even Texas Park. It might be Texas Parks and Wildlife too, and the Louisiana side, but they hired it out to these guys. These guys don't know anything about fishing or don't even care. All their job is to do, they're contracted out to spray. Like, we got 78 freaking gallons of spray, and we got to get rid of it by the end of the day. And they just go spray anything green that looks like Salvania. If it's not Salvania, if it's freaking someone's green yard, they're spraying it too. If it's a bush with one piece of Salvania in it, they go down the whole. It's a bad ordeal. So they killed everything on there, all the grass, because all that Salvania gets caught up in anything. Well, anyways, they did that, and then someone was like, floods never hurt the grass before. Right. And someone commented on here, like, dude, we had a flood down here that we flooded everyone south of Toledo. I went down there and like stood on by the dam, and I was like a quarter mile away from the dam, and the ground was shaking. They had so much water pumping through. It was the most water they had ever pumped through that dam for days. And they flooded everyone down south of us. I mean, that's why, you know, even when all the Sabine and all that stuff, it went down there anyways. It was just a bad deal. And then it flooded for like 4 years. And so it never, like Rayburn got 10-foot high, I want to say 2 or 3 times. And it had been 10-foot high once in like 30 years, and got it there like 3 times in 4 years. So all that killed. Toledo's different than Rayburn. Rayburn was allowed to come up and down. Toledo, they float, like they can't let it come up, so they'll push it through. So the current's bad, and it kills the grass. It's just a bad deal. Rayburn's a better lake because it comes up and goes down real slow. So, yeah, I mean, you can see guys are talking about Salvania and all this stuff around here. But I got it. And then some guy, I don't know if you saw the other guy about hooking a freaking diver off of a bridge. I had that up there.
Nice.
But, yeah, I mean, like, no one, they're not, it's not like the Conroe where it's a hydrilla deal and they spray because of hydrilla. It was really for that. But, like I said, it still kills everything.
Yeah.
You know?
They get paid by the gallon, not by the.
Right.
day, I guess. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that. So we got into this reels. Like you got to ask Hallman about his reel deal. I'll give you a little. He has this reels. He had these reels up until like last year. I think he still has some, and I can't remember what they're called. They have no English writing on them. I forget where he gets them, and he buys them for $20 a pop. And he buys like 100 of them, and like they work for a couple weeks or months, or he goes. Some of them don't even work when he gets them, but he's like just throws them away, and he just use them till they break, and then he goes. He's like, man, it's a great deal. I got tons and tons of reels, but me and Andrew just were like, God, dude, you gotta quit that, man. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, dude, I've still got like even I didn't have enough time. Even Aaron gave me like old JDM Metaniums I was using. I've still got them still to this day. I probably need to give them to Leslie, but he had a bunch of Shimano stuff he let me have and use throughout the year.
Well, I mean, like those green I didn't have anything but green Corrados. I guess I had some. What were the expensive Shimanos back then? Like you remember, like $189 Shimano was like, was it? They weren't the Chronarchs, or were they?
No, let me think here, man. Gosh, they were silver. They were
silver. See, they had these like the cheaper ones for like $69. They were like the Chronarchs or the something. I had a couple of those, but the $99 green reel was like
the green Corrado.
Right.
Everybody still uses the green. Even Steve King said he still got old green.
Yeah, like I still got some.
Man, what was that silver reel called? My buddy used to have one. My buddy used to have one I fished with a lot. I remember Swindle doing a video of the back of your truck when you're staying in at tournaments. Oh, man, I had that. I've still got that truck. The first truck I ever bought in my life was a 99 F-250 diesel, Ford diesel. It had a 7.3 in it. And that thing, I had it all over the country. And I've still got it because it's so much. I mean, it's just 7.3 is highly valuable. Everybody wants it. But I had like an old white, I don't even know how old that freaking truck cap cover was, but it was old. Didn't match the truck, but that's what I drove. And Swindle make fun of me every tournament because I'd be in the campground sleeping somewhere.
Did you do it?
Huh?
Did you slept like that for a long? How many years did you do that for?
Me and Aaron stayed in the same camper for 2 or 3 years, and then he bought another camper that was a little bit smaller, and it was just too tight. So I would just sleep in the truck beside the camper. So that's how
I didn't even know you and Aaron were rooming like that.
Oh yeah, for years. So I met Aaron in like 2001, and me and him got to be friends ever since then. I
know y'all aren't doing that anymore. Like that's the thing. Is anyone still doing that?
What, sleeping in the back of the truck? I don't know. I don't know. No clue. Man,
I don't think that's going on anymore.
As much as gas is costing now, I'm pondering on going back to it.
God.
But I finally got real big time, and I got me a little old tiny cot, a little spring cot, and I put that cot back there in the back of the truck and sleep on it. There'd been a many time I'd have like an old winter suit that I'd have to wear and like one blanket underneath there. That's how.
So one day, and I don't like I get down this stuff about like how I can remember things like on the fishing side.
Yeah.
Like I can remember almost every fish I caught this year. I can go back to tournaments and tell you all the fish. Like I can do all that. And then what I don't realize, and maybe it's on purpose because I drown it out, is like where I stay. Like I don't really do a good job about where I stay, but I would like for about 7 or 8 years back then, traveling around was tough. And we were still traveling around Texas and fishing all these places. And there were some so I met Hallman, me and Brent met Hallman and Nick Aber down there at Falcon. We met them because we were right next door, and Falcon's, all they have is these like concrete walled little hotel, motel little things we were staying at. And Hallman, this big OU fan, here's Brent. And Brent's from freaking Dirty Boot. So he's over there, LSU's playing. and it's like 10:30 at night.
Old dirty boot.
Yeah, and Brent is like Cajun coon-assing it up, man, like hollering and screaming at this little TV we got in this place. And I mean, he's like, oh, I mean, he's just going nuts. And like Holman can't help it no more, right? So he just freaking comes through, like starts banging on the door. He's like, who's this idiot in here? Because, he's OU guy. And they weren't even playing OU, but it didn't matter. And so that's how we met Holman. And we've been friends ever since. But me and Nick and my buddy Dylan and I think Larry Ray, and they had his guy, and I only remember, I'll think of his name, Kelly. I think his name was, no, I can't remember his name. It'll come to me in a second. But all I remember as far as this nunchucks, he talked about freaking nunchuck and son. He told a story about some nunchuck, and he called them nunchucks. He said, he told his long story. He said, I grabbed my nunchucks and hit him over the head. Anyways, we stayed at Texoma, and there was this like hotel, and it had like 2 beds in like queens that were barely queens. And it had room just for like one other place. Well, they brought him along, and he had a cot, and he put the cot in between the bed. And so it was basically 5 guys sleeping 5 deep.
Oh, God.
Across this thing. And I'm just going, man, that wasn't the only one. But I mean, you look up and like there was nowhere you couldn't even walk around. I mean, you couldn't do nothing. Like you had to get out of bed, like inch yourself out of bed.
Oh,
and for like 5-6 days, we practiced and fished the tournament. But like, how many stories we have like that?
Yeah.
We had the first time me and Russell stayed together, we had this big place at Toledo, and there was 9 of us staying there, and they had this double California king. And I swear you could sleep 5 guys on it and not one part. You could spread your arms out and not touch anyone. It was this weird bed, and like, I think that's the terminal. Yeah, I won. I won that. Russell makes the cut. Like 9 guys stayed in that place, or 8, and like 5 of them made the cut. It was insane.
Thank God. We don't stay in motels much anymore. We try.
No.
We try to rent houses everywhere we go. Thank God.
We're the same. The last hotel we stayed at, we don't stay anywhere else. The only place a guy fell through on us at St. Clair. This was the worst one we've done in a long time. And if anyone doesn't know, St. Clair is beautiful until you get about 4 miles away from St. Clair. And then it's Detroit, Michigan.
You're not far from 8 Mile up there. So.
Yeah. No, I drove down 8 Mile too. When I drove down there one night, on our off day, I on purpose. I just drove down 8 Mile to a McDonald's. Like I wanted to get a McDonald's on 8 Mile, so I drove down 8 Mile a while just to go down it. But so we stayed at this. We had to get a hotel, and we had a corner room right next to like a 6-lane road. The highway's right there, and we're on this corner room, and I made the cut. And it didn't matter. We stayed another day after that. So we were there 8 days at this hotel. Me, Russell, Yoder. No, Yoder stayed in another place, but me and him, and then Bensema came and slept on the floor for like the last 2 or 3 days. We had to put our electrical cords through the room and out the door. So we never shut for 8 days.
Lock the door.
No.
Yeah.
Never locked the door.
Been there and done that. Yeah.
The door was open that much for 8 days with the thing on there, and the amount of people at 2:00 in the morning every night.
Mosquitoes everywhere.
Hollering, cussing, drinking. It was just not. And, you already know how it is. You're just trying to get a good 5. Good 5 hours is like something. And, dude, I was so tired. I would sleep through them. I would hear it, and the door's open. So they'd be like outside of our door hollering. I mean, they'd be 2 foot from the door. And I'd be like, like we had all of our guns like just sitting there.
Before you wake up or you go to bed knowing your stuff's going to get broke into. You just already preparing yourself for it.
We parked our boats in between the hotel and that road. So like they were like on the grass, like people were on by sidewalks. Anyways, I think it was so wide open, no one would do anything. and I would hear people, and it was like they were inside our room, like doing all this, and I'd be like, "Nah, doors closed," and I was so tired, I just go right back to sleep. And you look back, going, "How stupid was that?" I mean, there's no other choice though.
Yeah, been there and done it.
I think some guy got his truck and boat stolen there, and they found his boat completely. I mean, everything.
That was Derek Blake. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
stole his truck and boat.
He was about a mile from where we were staying.
That's crazy. So yeah, it makes you appreciate once you finally are able to rent houses. You know where you started from.
Keep on. I'm having to look at all. Man, I've done horrible on the.
I was just staying with friends. Like, yeah, I do that. I mean, we go to these places now where we've been there so many times. Like, I've got a place now to stay at St. Lawrence. If we go out of Waddington at Mike Kenny's up there, he owns so I think Sweeter Creations. That's what it is. It's actually a maple syrup place, and he's got a loft in the top of it, and we actually stay there with him there. But now we went out of Clayton, which that's an hour and a half drive, so I couldn't stay with him this time. So there's a couple places that we got people now that we can stay with, but for the most part, most deal we don't. Calais, I think was it a Calais? Was that real a Calais? I see Ontario.
Well, I thought the Calcutta.
No, I think it was a Calais. Was the silver one that was real expensive.
That's what he said. But then there was that. There was that.
Ontario, yeah. But the old one was the Sitica was a silver one too. The Calais is the one where my buddy used it. It was it's like chromish silver, and it was real heavy reel, but it was a good reel. Yeah, Sitica.
I think that was yeah.
Yeah, Andrew Tucker Calais. I think that was the reel. I've been impressed. Not to plug sponsorship stuff, but I have been impressed with their stuff so far this year. KJ was in the back of his van. I can see that.
See, like it was the Caludas or Calcuttas. Oh, wait,
it's English. It's Calcutta, I guess.
It's Calcuttas.
20 years old, it still work like new.
Yeah.
I thought Calcuttas were a round reel.
Oh, were they that like look like them saltwater reels more?
I've got a gold one that I found somewhere.
Like the old Ambassadors. Those are my first reels, like the gray, like the 5500. That's what they were, the 5500 gray Ambassador reels. They were the circular.
I'll tell you the one I used the most was back in the day was like the Lew's BB1s, BB1NGs. And I was looking at them the other day, and Shimano actually made those for Lew's. Like I was looking, I was like, why does that say Shimano? Because I never really paid attention to it. I've got a shelf like of 10 feet of nothing but old BB1 and BB1NGs that, and a couple of them were Shimano made them for Lew's back in the day.
I never got a reel ever. It was all those green ones. And then Corey Rambo, a guy who lives down here, I guess down at Rayburn. I mean, he's freaking heck of a stick on Rayburn, him and Rusty Clark. Anyways, I wonder if he still remembers this. I mean, I talked to him. I'll ask him when I see him. I'll probably see him in a couple of weeks. I guess he had just got sponsored by Lew's or something. He's like, hey, check this reel out. And it was a BB1.
No kidding.
And
1NG or a BB1?
What'd you ask me?
Was it a 1NG, BB1NG or BB1?
I guess it was just a Speed Spool, BB1.
Yeah, those are the older ones, yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, I love this thing. And ever since then, like that was my I always tell people it's amazing how like one thing of someone's company can like have you go in a direction. Mm-hmm. And the Corrados, like they did away with the green Corrado for like a year or two. And sometimes it's just availability, right? So like all of a sudden these Lew's I could get. So I started buying one here and one there, and I liked them BB1s. And then it was kind of hard to go back because I think all of them green Corrados were all 5-to-1s, weren't they?
They were pretty. They actually had the old Corrado Bantams. They were like 3 8-to-1 cranking. So they had some real slow ones back in the day.
Yeah, and I'm like an all 7-to-1 guy almost now. So it like once I started realizing that, like I could never go back anymore. Like once you go a faster reel, it's hard to go back.
You
Oh,
did.
he might have said, look at that.
Yeah, 381 Green Corrado Band. I think it's Corrado Band.
Dude, hey, man, these guys on here are freaking slick, dude. They don't. I just happened to look down at the next comment, and he had it. It's amazing.
Yep, 381. I didn't know if that was a ratio or not. I actually got it right. So you deep crank with a fast reel?
No, I'm still 6.4 to 1. That's all I'll do. Like I'll crank with a 6. I can't even go 5 to 1 because it's. I don't know.
All my deep crankings with 5 to 1.
Are they?
5 to 1 to 5.5, somewhere in there.
But you don't crank anymore.
No, I'm seeing
done with the deep water.
But when I shallow crank now, I will step it up to go to a 6 or 7 because it's like you don't need the torque. For me, you don't need the torque of the reel to do the work for you.
Right.
So,
6.4 to 1 is close though to a 5 to 1.
What's that?
A 6.4 to 1 and a 5 to 1 are pretty close.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the inches turn. It's probably like a 28 to 30, probably something.
I think it's the 30, 31.
Do I worry about where I can't conceal carry or carry it out? No, it's America I'm carrying.
Yeah, I know.
That'll be around me somewhere. Let's put it that way.
What is this?
Ask Mullins about his roommates. I heard he was influential to his roommate's success. I don't know. Me and Drew Benton and Drew Cook stay together, and talking to people.
Ben's been catching them about just like you. I mean,
yeah. Benton won on the FLW tour and Bassmaster tour.
You've probably had couple better years in the last 2 or 3, but I mean. He was doing pretty good. Yeah, and he fished the tour. I mean,
yeah, they're both sticks. But we do share information with each other. That's the thing about it is if you can find some people that are good and that are going to be honest with you, then I'll share information with them. I mean, they're roommates and Benton's like a brother, so I tell him everything as far as like areas and what I'm catching them on. But this is the thing about it is what's weird is like me and Benton and Cook fish more alike, but I don't fish anything like those guys. And I don't ever see them on the water, hardly ever at all. Like any tournament we go to, don't ever see them all day. We just fish totally different. But, we make it work. And like I said, it's important to have, if you've got some guys you trust that it works out. And there's been times where they've helped me out, and there've been times where I've helped them out. It works out for everybody. Yeah, it was chrome looking reels, $350 back in the day. Yep, that was it.
I don't think people. So we've traveled a lot. I've traveled a lot with a lot of different people over the years, and what you learn, what you learn is this: rarely do you ever say, and we kind of talk about it like. Especially like say I got a pattern working, like something pretty specific.
Yeah.
Chances are, and Russell's the worst. And not in a bad way. Like we can't tell each other some of the things because I could tell him something and within 30 minutes, he's got the whole lake dialed into the same pattern. And then my pattern's really not that good anymore and vice versa. So the only thing like where it really helps is if like what we consider like, hey, are they on beds? Like, have you seen any on beds? Like that's a big one. Or if you're on Okeechobee, you're like, are you 60 miles on that end or are they over there in South? Because some of those lakes, it doesn't matter. Like, hey, they're in the Monkey, just get over there. Just get over there and start fishing. And you don't have to fish the same way, but a lot of it's more like, have y'all been to Champlain? Are y'all going to Champlain?
I don't know what our schedule is next year. They haven't released.
Well, no, I don't want to talk about anything, but like, hey, are they at Ticonderoga or are they up north?
Yeah.
And then like, hey, man, it's going down up north, and that's really that's the best information in the world. all the other stuff, for the most part, we all know how to catch fish. And so we just don't want to be over there in the Dead Sea somewhere not catching them. Like that's
beauty thing about fishing, though. It's on your own. You know, you can't blame anybody else or, you know, whatever else. I mean, you pretty much got to own up to it. If you don't catch them, you know, you just don't catch them. But it's not like you can rely on anybody else for it most of the time.
I got all them cow. They went. I mean, dude. Talk about Shimano. Y'all got a. Oh, here.
What
do you want to know?
Do you like the 5.5 Scottsboro swim bait? I throw the 5 and the 6 most of the time, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure if I've got a 5.5 right now, but I've got plenty of 5s and 6s, and that 6, even that trophy I got right there, I caught some good ones on the 6. That's the first year I was with Scottsboro. But yeah, it's a great swim bait. It's different. A lot more people using it now, but it's got more of a subtle. Like if you go to like a Zoom, like the Zoom swim bait, it's got like a lot more kick to it. It's like the Scottsboro's a little tighter and got a little more subtle waddle to it. I like it in clearer water more than the other ones. You guys break down, clean your own reels. No, I actually break down my own reels. They're not. You know, I break them down. I'll take some alcohol, clean the gears, blah, 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 about once every 2 years.
You don't like take it all out, like all of them, like the whole gears and everything?
Yeah. About every 2 years.
Like you'll have like 30 pieces laying around?
No, you don't have to take out 30 pieces. But
that's my point. No, that's what I'm asking about.
I'll take the cover off. I'll take the gears out of the shaft and get down in that bearing, oil that bearing, put your
I meant like I've like messed around and taken like almost every single thing off.
I mean, but you got to think it ain't got that much in it. You know, once you get the main gear and the drag washers off, all you got's a shaft and whatever else is in there. I don't clean like the thumb button or any of those springs like that, but like I'll usually lube each bearing and grease the main gear, grease the worm gear, and then I'm good to go. Yes.
I got a guy who'll do them for like stupid cheap. So
yeah,
I used to like fix all my rods too, and I got a guy who does it. Like both of them do it. I'll be honest. I kind of get reels now, like where I just sell my reels now.
I do. I think about once every 2 years for me is what I would do.
Yeah.
What did the guy say about Bugs Island? I read something about Bugs Island.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's why I didn't want to get too far because they went to. And if he says it again, I don't even know where I'm at in the comments. Oh, here it is. Got it.
They were returning Bugs and the guys were charging the boat through a window. Rolled up, pulling the cord out of the outlet, 6 foot of wire from the wall. And the mini hair dryer. That's pretty good.
Dude, we have found some weird places to plug in over the years. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's funny he brought up Bugs Island because I went up. I was like 9. I think I was 19 at the time, and I went over there and randomly fished the Piedmont Division BFLs and should have won the points in it. I mean, 19 years old fishing those for the first time, and I remember I was we had to go to the Chickahominy River first time. I never fished tidal in my life. I got checked there, but I remember going to the ramp that day. I forgot. And that's one of the only times I ever forgot, and left my cord hooked to the boat, and I'm pulling it down to the chicks' ramp, and I look back and there's a cord going back behind the boat just like this. I had to go back there and get it. It's funny.
I don't know if it'd be hard to fish as much as we have and hadn't at least. I don't know if I've driven that far, but I've gotten down the street.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like 19, didn't know any better.
I never taught this, so I have like one OCD in me, just one. It's the only OCD thing I have. It's not every time, but it's close, even though I know. But I'll pull out of the driveway and I'll get to our stop sign. And it'll be like 5 o'clock in the morning or something, pitch black outside, but that's where there's a light right there, like a good light.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, like I get out of the truck and I go back there and I look at my hookup. Like, you know, like I just make sure I got the pin in or something, you know, like I even though I just did it, it's not when I leave other places, just my house. And I'll be at that stop sign and I'll be like, gosh dang it. And I think one time I've had to put the pin in, which it wouldn't have done anything, but
it's funny.
Hey, so this is for you. Because this ain't for me.
How many $10 Randy Blockhead bacon jigs do you guys have? I don't know what that is. So
I don't know what it is either.
I have any.
So this, I don't, that's getting really technical right there on the, what I will do with, so what I have, the only thing that breaks anymore with my reels, it's all frog fishing. That's what it all, like everything I break is frog fishing. And I always try to tell them guys, I'm like, hey man, like, cause I used to send Lou's back handles and then a reel and I'd put on there, hey man, frog fishing has been really good. And that's my note to them. Cause cause I've had a lot of reels. Like I always used to go and buy the biggest, nastiest reel someone would make. And then I'd go break it in like 2 or 3 days frog fishing. Same thing with rods. Same thing. Like that's how I learned how to. I did this for like 4 or 5 years. I remember Andrew Upshaw gave me a rod one time, and he was like, "You can't break this rod." I brought it back to him within a day, broken.
There's no way Andrew could fish with your rods.
Well, no.
If anybody doesn't know, Todd's like flipping sticks weigh 12 pounds a piece.
Yeah. So, well, my frog rod, my like big frog rod, not my like working a rod, but like when we get in the nasty stuff, like I broke every rod and I was using musky rods and I got this other rod now. I haven't broke it. And then these reels, and this was years ago, but even Lou's, they didn't have the heavy duty stuff like they do now. I haven't broke them yet. Like the 300s, I haven't broke any of them, but I would send them back after like 4 months of frogging and just go, hey man, sorry, frogging's been good. And they're like, what did you do to this thing? And I'm like, dude, that's how hard we hit them. And that's how many times we do it in the nastiest stuff. But I have a bad habit, I guess, of I'll do it. Like when I set the hook, I can't help it, but I'll hold on to that reel handle too.
Bend it.
And I'll bend it. And I know we were working, you know, I was like, hey, why don't we, they had actually sent me some reel handles to try for me to bend. Like I was their testing dummy on doing some of that on some of these new ones. And the new ones I can still bend, but it's very rare. I don't do it as much, but I did more of the like handle stuff is what I break now.
I haven't got the chance to use any of our reels yet for frogging. Of course, we don't have much vegetation in East Tennessee, so when we go to La Crosse in a few weeks, it should be good. I'll get to test out some of the Bantams. My worst day cranking was watching Dave on Champlain, buddy. It was my worst day too. Sometimes they just don't get. I had that tournament blowed away too. Sometimes they just don't get it.
What, this?
Yeah, at Champlain tournament, I was in.
I know you talked to me a long time about that.
Went into day 4 and should have had like 22 that day, and freaking man, they just would not stay buttoned. I lost, and it was funny because like you know, 3 to 3.5 were really common, but if you caught a 4-pounder that year, it was gold. And dude, like that weather come in that last day, and them freaking big ones. I'm talking about like 4.5 to 5s. I lost 2 or 3 of them, and like. You know, 2 of them jumped off. One of them just pulled. I can still remember every one of those fish. Just you go from should have had 22 to 21, and you have 17 or something. I can't even remember.
Let me ask you this. So over the years of all your fishing, how many days can you remember in tournaments? Just because it doesn't happen in practice. Because if it does, you're not worried about it. And I'm talking about even fun fishing or goofing around. But I mean tournament days where you'll have those days where it's that, and it might like maybe you lose a lot, you know, doing that. I mean, I can tell you, I have a lot of stories of these random days where like the most random stuff, but like 10 random things that you've never seen happen, like a reel handle coming off, breaking 60-pound braid, which you haven't broken 3 years.
Right.
And then losing 4 fish on a frog in a row and you've never lost, or like on a jit, you know, like stuff that's so rare that to do it once is rare, or twice, and then have it like 4 times that day. Like, can you?
The craziest thing I had happen to me was actually on St. Lawrence this year that I've never had happen. But like I'm catching them, I've already got 20. And by the way, I weigh in like 23 pounds up there. They didn't even clap for me. Mercer's handing me the microphone like, what happened? Did you break down today or something? I'm like, no, I fished pretty clean today, actually. But I had I'm sitting there on a flat, and I was fishing shallow for the most part. I was shining my live scope out through there, and I'm like, God, there's a bunch of fish right there. It's like, there's no way those are bass because there's way too many, because there's like 20 or 30 of them on the screen. Usually when you see smallmouth, there's only like 1 or 2, that you pitch it. But I'm going to throw out there on it. And, dude, they were 100 foot, and I throw my drop shot out there, and I could watch it splash on that new plus. And as they're in 18 foot, and that thing didn't fall 2 feet, and one's coming off the bottom to look at it. I'm like, they are bass. And it like gets it before it gets to the bottom, and I stick it, and it's the biggest one I hooked the whole week. It's like a 6. And it came up to the top and just stopped, dead stopped, and laid on its side like this. I initially set the hook. 1 second later, it's on the top and it's laying on its side. And I'm reeling it. I'm like reeling it. I can't even move it because I got it on 7-pound test sunline with a medium light rod, and I can't move it. And I'm trying to reel it, and it's pulling it sideways, and you're not making any headway. And there's a little bit of wind chop, and I pull it and pull it. I pull this thing like 20 feet, and all of a sudden it dives just a little bit, and I pull it up again, and all of a sudden it bites on. And I have no idea what happened. I don't know if it was wrapped up in my drop shot or whatever else. But then this sucker jumps 2 or 3 times out of the water, 3 feet out of the water, and I fight it all the way back to the boat, and the sucker pulls off underneath the trolling motor. If I catch that one fish, I almost make the cut, because it was a 6. It would have got out of 4 even, so that'd give me 2 more pounds. I only missed the cut by like 2 and 3 pounds, so it'd been real close. But I don't know if it wrapped up, but it just laid there on the top of the water. Never had that happen to me before. But
I've had some weird like frog days or weird. We've just had some weird day. Like they might only happen once every 2 or 3 years, where like nothing you do is right.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes you like stop for a second. Like you're sitting there going, what's going on? And then other, like, I think I looked up at one point in time this year before that Ross Barnett event, and I lost like some on day 1. Like I lost 2 giants on a frog, and I make the cut. I'm sitting in second or third if I just catch them. I got it on video. I put the videos out there. These, like, you can't lose like a 4.5 and a 5, 1 over 5. And I would have made the cut. I would have been sitting in like 3rd place after 2 days, and both on a frog, both by the boat, But regardless of that, I think before going into that tournament, I think I had like lost 1 fish all year. And so we're talking probably 14 tournaments in a row.
It's funny. You might not I've said this about duck hunting too, but you might not remember all your good days, but you'll remember your bad. It's just like duck hunting. You might not remember every good dog you ever hunted with, but you remember the bad dog you've hunted with every time. And fishing's like the same thing.
My dad wasn't he fished a little bit, but I remember him saying that he played golf. Like, he's just a freaking athlete, but he could play golf. And like everyone told me how good he was. I only got to see him like hit. He's that guy. He's like, I'll laugh at this because I'm gonna tell this story before I get into this. So we're up at ICAST, guys, like a couple of weeks ago, and me and my buddy Kelly and David and some other guys, we all go out to eat, and then we got this Costa party. Costa throws a party every year, and then for the last 2 years it's been a Top Golf. So we get up there, and our buddies Russell and freaking that whole crew's already up there. And I don't know, they probably hadn't been drinking too long. It was pretty early in the night. No one was drunk, but they were playing Top Golf. And so we roll up in there and like, instantly they're like, come on, man, hit a couple. And I'm like, I don't really want to. Andrew gets up there and hits a couple, and it takes him like 5 or 6 to hit one. I I like playing with my brother-in-law because he takes it serious and I don't. I care less where I hit it. But I did get up there and like hit a couple, and then they talked you in there.
They peer pressured me.
You bombed one out there. I don't even know where it landed, by the net somewhere, and he just walks off. And I don't know if you'd have done it again, but you're like, yep, that's the only one y'all are getting.
You know I play college golf, don't you?
No, see, so I figured, yeah. So I've seen my dad hit a golf ball like once or twice, and it's like dead on, and he never did it again. And then, but yeah, he said this. He was like, I said, man, how come these older guys aren't better putters? And he was like, no, you're best. You putt the best when you're young, not when you're old. So no, I'm like, seriously?
I don't know.
100%.
Them old guys.
When you're young, we're talking 20s.
Yeah.
Like and he goes, because the deal is when you're young, he's like, you don't remember all these putts, but like all these old guys, they've remembered every single bad putt that they've missed to make a cut, win a tournament, whatever. He said, they don't get up there and remember all the 500 that they've made. It's just the 4 or 5 that they lost, that they missed. And I think it's the same thing. Like you said, like it's the one bad day in 3 years you've had. And then if that's what you think about when fighting a fish, it kind of get to you. I think that's what I'm kind of,
I still like the year that Clark won AOY and I had the lead going into the last tournament. Like I still remember the 4 fish I lost at Fork. If I catch any of them, I win it. All 4 of them. If I land those fish, I win it. And I can remember the fish I lost at Eufaula. It was a 6-something because Drew caught it on the 3rd day. And if I land that one fish, I don't even have to show up for the last one. I won AOY that year. And it's just like you might not remember all the good ones, but you'll remember the bad ones every time. And it's not like I sit here and dawn on them all the time, but I won't forget them.
I'm gonna go through real quick, and I'm gonna speed answer some of this. That's a yes. This guy loves LSU, and yeah. Yeah, I don't know how far back they got all kind of, man. See,
there's no good Tigers.
Here's one for you as I keep looking.
Every time I go, any general tips? I mean, that place is so much different now than what it was, 10 to 15 years ago, and it seems like it's becoming a predominant smallmouth place, and usually after about May or June, those smallmouth disappear until the water starts getting cold. So my advice is to fish the water when it's cold, and they love little swim baits there and small crankbaits. So I would get on some rocky points, throw a little swim bait around, or maybe crank them and go from there. But it's definitely changed a lot, and the water keeps getting clearer and just different what it used to be. I don't like it, but it's still a good lake. Still got a lot of fish in it. You think they make the EQ separate from the opens like Toyota? What is EQ?
I'm thinking the elite qualification from the open. So, like there was talks. I heard them too that they were going to make this like secondary league in between the opens.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of the backlash on stuff. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really like the way that they're doing the opens right now as far as how you qualify, because I look at a guy like myself and, teaching school, I don't think I could have never fished 9 different tournaments and been able to make it. So for me, fishing those 3 is the only way I could do it. But, I realize they got to do something because, they got 50, 100 people on every waiting list for those things. So they've got to change something. But I would definitely like to see a tournament trail that's in between the elites and the opens, where a guy can go make a living and not have to go to another organization or whatever, and not leave where they want to be at. So I don't know what the right answer is at that, but I know there's a change that had to take place. So they made it, and they'll, if they have to do more changes, they'll do that.
I want to respond to Dustin. Yeah, I know what happens. I don't care about that. Like, so even with my job with Strike King is all that stuff. I know that's my whole deal. I'm trying to break something. Every hook set, I'm either going to break the bait, the rod, the reel, the line. Eventually, you start realizing like you force companies into building good stuff. I'm being like, so every time I break stuff, they'd work on more stuff, and it's amazing if you do that. You know, like we work for good companies, and good companies. Some companies look at it and go, "It is what it is." Other companies, good ones that have been around, like Shimano, like Lew's, they don't just sit there and go, "Oh, it is what it is. Something's bound to break." They go around and fix it or try to. And so I think lines like that, rods are like that, like people eventually figure out a way to make things better. The good companies stick around and do that. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. What line are you using for frog fish? You using the SX1 or FX?
No, I've already had this discussion with you.
What do
I've
you
had
use?
a Vouster.
What do you
I don't know why any of y'all use that stuff.
Dude, I love SX. SX1's like my favorite.
The plasma will blow all that stuff out of the
I
water.
like plasma. So you
The-
using what are you using? 60-pound plasma on the frogging? 60? Okay.
Go look at it too. It's bigger than y'all's 80.
I would
I say y'all's. It's mine too, but
yeah, but
I broke all the other braids.
really.
I broke every braid I've ever had except plasma. It's the only braid I've ever. So I started throwing it in the Forest Wood Cup. He got me some at the Forest Wood Cup
Mm-hmm.
on Lake Washita. It was the first time so whenever that 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and I don't even think it was on the market yet. And that's where I was trying it out. I've been throwing it ever since. I've never broke it.
I do like SX1 better on spinning reels than I do plasma. I tried plasma for the first time at the St. Lawrence River, and I think I like the SX1 better just because the way it comes off through the guides and stuff. It's like I don't know if it's slicker or what. Even though plasma's got that coating, it's just
I know.
it's a different feel for me.
I haven't done. I mean, I'll do all the 12-pound on the spinning rod stuff. Y'all are doing it more than me, I would say. But I mean, I don't really have a problem with it. But I'll be honest, I haven't tried it on the spinning rod. Like that stuff doesn't phase me as much as like go throw a frog in the pads or like, hey, just reeling over that stuff like for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And two things are going to happen. One, I don't ever want to have to retie because you'll break off. Plasma, you can go for a lot more days, and it'll rub all. Pads are the worst. It'll rub off that braid like over time. But the worst part is casting. So like the more you rough up that braid, you'll get to where you'll have braid on for a long time. You'll make like about every 50th cast, it'll lock up.
Yeah, sometimes
that doesn't do it at all. That plasma doesn't do it at all. So that's the main reason. Like I never have those. It'll get hung up in the reel, but that's all braid. But I'm talking about like the ones where, you know how it is. It'll just start catching. You'll get about half, 10 feet of line out, and it'll catch. And you just kind of have to mess with it.
Mm-hmm.
That braid, it won't do it.
Okay, that's interesting.
And I just,
I've got some plasma 60. I'll try it out when we go lacrosse. But yeah, I'm also an SX1 guy.
You'll love it way better. And me and Valster talk about it all the time. How he even says he's shocked that more that some like guys don't use it more. Oh, that's an easy one right there.
What company? No, dude, everything I use is Produsco. I don't have any custom colors or anything.
Yeah, 0% of that is custom.
Give me some black and blue and some green pumpkin, and I'm good to go.
But I never even thought about that. You know what I'm saying?
I've got some custom crankbait colors, but they're not produced by the companies.
How much do you throw them?
Not much, to be honest with you.
I know.
I mean,
I kind of got it.
Give me a green gizzard 6XD and a chartreuse one, and I'm good to go. But I do have some custom colors.
I'm looking around, man. I'm so far behind, dude.
That's cool. I didn't know people would ask questions.
Oh yeah. This is the only way to go. Well, you don't have that target difference. I'm trying.
Zowire.
Hold on. I want to get on this. I didn't read it all.
the no leader braid for deep cranking.
I didn't read it all. Am I not reading it right?
I don't know. I've never used a leader with deep cranking ever. I've never used braid with cranking. Period.
Yeah, me neither. Because he wants to I don't know how, like, I still call it a shark rod. It's not my old shark. I mean, I think I could fight a lot. I'll put it this way. I fought a lot of freaking 10-foot alligators on it. And then when I say like as hard as I possibly can pull on it and try to break that thing. So he knows.
Thanks, Plasma. He knows it.
So look, man. Like, I admitted to this too. Up until probably 4 years ago, I knew how to tie one knot.
Yeah.
Palomar knot. And then I eventually had to tie, I don't even know what knot it is that I tie. I've heard it called like 2 or 3 different, but it's just when I have to tie the braid to floor. I could tie a snell knot, I guess, too. So 2 of them, but I don't tie that knot anymore. But when I had to learn how to tie braid to fluoro.
The only one I tie is a FG braided fluoro. The only knot I tie with every lure is a double uni. The only reason I did that, me and Aaron was here. This is like 2000.
I guarantee you went to the Sunline deal.
It's 2000, probably 5. He's over here at the house, maybe 6, somewhere in there. He's over here at the house, and he's like, "Bro, you got any old line like here that I can use?" And I said, "Man." And back then I had some Maxima. And I was like, "I got some old Maxima here somewhere." But I said, "Dude, it's been on the shelf for a few years. I'd say it's no good." He said, "Bring it out here." I said, "All right, I'll check it." So I had a jig there, and I tied on that jig double with a polymer, and I just popped it. I tied it again, popped it. I said, "Dude, it's no good." He said, "Let me see it." And then he tied a double uni, and I could not break it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, gosh, so ever since then, I've tied a double uni on everything I do.
Right.
What's the
See, well, hold on. So you tie a what? Braid to fluoro?
FG.
Which one's that?
It's the one you just wrap up, wrap down, wrap up. So you vary it from 20 to 30 wraps.
20 to 30?
Perhaps, yeah.
That's not the one where you go through the hole?
No, you don't go through any hole. Yeah.
I think that's the one that so I learned it from Brent Ayler.
The FG's the only one. He's probably talking about Crazy Alberta or something, but
maybe it is.
FG's the only one I know to tie, and it's I've never ever broken that knot. It's the best crankbait rod and reel. Fort? What's Fort?
I don't think Fort. You might have messed up on that. Fort.
I mean, it just depends on what I've been using. This is my first year with all Shimano stuff, and the Corrado 200 PG is what I've been doing my deep cranking with.
What is that? I don't care. Like, how long is that?
How long is the Corrado?
That's all I care about is like how long those real rods are.
It's the reel. The Corrado PG 200 is the reel. It's a reel. It's like a 5:1 ratio reel. And then when I get to a smaller crankbait, I'll go to the 6 or 7:1 Corrado MGL. But the real crankbait, a rod, I'm still getting used to rod. They have an older X Pride that was a 711 that I've been using for a 6XD, but it's still really not big enough for a 10XD. So I've been using a custom rod for a 10 till they build me one. So for about all crankbaits, I use any 7.4 or longer, but for deeper crankbaits, I'm usually around 8 foot.
Man, a lot of guys like these like 7.6 deep cranking, and I don't like anything under 7.10.
Yeah, for deep crank, but it's just it's all about casting for me.
I know. Well,
you got to have something to cast it as far as you can possibly throw it, and that's the key to crankbait fishing, in my opinion.
Well, I agree. I'm shocked when I just don't like a shorter rod like that. I was just kind of wondering.
I mean, originally those old launchers were 7.6 that we used for years and years and years, and for maybe like a DT10 or something like that, or 6, I'll use a 7.6, but anything longer than that or anything, dives deeper, I use close to an 8 foot if I get away with it.
Right there. I mean, I got all. I mean, I got a whole bunch of stuff.
If there's Mark or Mac Vincent, he knows.
Boy, they're going all kinds of. See, like
somebody watches your
there's
phone.
a crazy outboard. Maybe it's that one.
Yeah, I'd
That's
say
it.
I used to. That was the one I tied before I did the FG, and ever since I did the FG, I'll never go back to anything else.
Miller not?
Never had that one.
Me neither.
I've heard of a San Diego Jam, but yeah, FGs all I tie. How long you give a brush pile if you know that they're just not committing?
I can tell you how long.
A couple casts. Yeah.
About 3 to 4 casts.
Yeah, a lot of times they just don't have a trigger to them. And then, but I say that there was a brush pile on Fork that I was fishing that I threw a big worm in there a couple times. Nothing. Drug like a Carolina rig through there a couple times. Nothing. Pick up that Nichols Magnum spoon, and the first cast, like I got one to react to it and bit it. So a lot of times it's just about getting. Now that's the only one I caught of it over the day, but a lot of times it's about getting something to make one react. But they get in that mood where they're just not feeding. It don't matter a lot of times what you throw in there; they're not going to bite it.
I think I think the difference before live scope, we just pull up to pile. Like I know on Rayburn, we just pull up to piles, and usually every time it's first cast,
mm-hmm.
and maybe second. Maybe you didn't hit the pile good,
right?
And then but now like the piles on like I don't fish piles anymore. I think they suck. I know you can catch giants out of there, but I mean everyone's hitting them now with live scope. It's like 5 times. We used to have piles that no one hit, and maybe that's why they bit right away. But I don't know if that. I think you can kind of mess around with them a lot, but I don't think it's about casting on them a bunch. I don't know, man. We see some guys over there freaking throwing at piles for like 3 hours, and we're just like, maybe they catch them. I don't know.
Yeah, live scopes made it where you're so much more efficient.
I don't know how far we are on comments, but I'll let you go.
I've got hundreds of funny Aaron stories. Well, it's for another time, but yeah, I've got a bunch of good.
Dude, we might have to have you back on and tell some.
No, he was a special guy.
Because that's an interesting one.
Y'all cranking on them targeting the water column, or always stick to bottom. Up north now, you're pretty much cranking. Like you can get away with cranking a water column because you might be 20 foot deep and you're throwing something that runs 12 and they'll come off the bottom and eat it. So you can just pretty much throw it out there and wind it. But usually if I'm fishing Tennessee River around home, I'm always hitting bottom or some kind of structure. Smallmouth are just a little different animals up there.
This one I've never even talked about. It's not the Mississippi. I've never been north on the Mississippi.
That's where we go in a couple of weeks, so I can't hear anything about it anyway. Yeah, I think so, Mac. That was my favorite. Toledo Bend and Kentucky Lake were like my 2 favorite ones to go to, and both of them been just.
It's coming back, right?
I heard it's coming a little bit, but nothing. It'll
not like
many years. Many years for I think anything's going to happen. And until they keep them from coming in the lake, I don't think they're ever going to fix it. But it was a special place. It was the best place in the country because it's just got so many flats and so many places they can live. The population of fish here is unbelievable.
I'm throwing that out there because we're gonna have to do another one of those because they want. I guess that's kind of how big of a stretch. You think he's talking about like kind of like a Kentucky lake, like how far down like a ledge you'll fish?
Yeah, usually, it can be an area or like up north, you can get an area that be 200 yards by 200 yards. They're just for some reason in that area cranking, and at Tennessee River, it could be a place that's 5 feet by 5 feet that's got them stacked up on it. So it just depends on what area of the country you're in. But if I'm fishing around here, usually it's something small and isolated where it'd be shale or pea gravel or something that's not very big at all.
I won't answer this question. This is for my group. I got to write this down. This is for my group discussion, my little roundtable group that I have.
You're right back. Go ahead, Nancy.
That's that. I'm just telling you, like, there's something I do that's kind of different. I wouldn't say different, but it's a way to find some fish. It's a way to find fish that no one's ever going to find. How about that? So I don't really talk about it much. It's I don't know if it's as valuable as it used to be because of live scope. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It has to be. Anyways, I'll bring that up. I'll bring it up hopefully this week on our private group. So if you want to know, join that thing. And by the way, I got to figure out this FG. I guess I got to go try that out and start messing with that.
I'll tell you the biggest key with the FG for starting to tie it. If you get it on a spin reel, tie the main line to the handle of your reel, and that way it's always got tension on it. You can use your other hand for turning it, but if you go ahead and tie that to the handle of the reel, it keeps tension on the line the whole time.
Well, I know, like, what do you need? Yeah, go ahead. I'll tell everyone with. So I did a line video a while back, and I was like, hey, look, no matter what knot you're using, some knots will be better than others, I guess. But in my opinion, if you can tie a knot really good, it's better than some other guy's knot. In the sense of, like you said, like you can watch some guy how they tie a line, and the only way to get good at it is by, like, especially some of those knots where you got a lot of stuff going on with your hands.
Yeah.
And you won't look like, I won't tie a knot like you will. Polymar's kind of the same, but you get in the same routine and you got to train your fingers to do the same thing. And I've just noticed that training them to do that, to tie knots, is the only way to do it. And then once you might be a guy that has to, like, bite line like this to pull it tight or whatever it might be, but you get in that same routine, and the better you are at that routine, the better your knot's always going to be. And that's what I always tell people. And I think people tie bad knots before the knots actually being bad. Some of them might be better, but I think a guy who ties a really good knot probably doesn't break off too much.
And for me, like, I check. I mean, I don't know how a lot of people do it, but, like, I put a lot of attention on my knot. I get done with them, so I get the bags cut. I mean, I'm really, bearing down on them, make sure they're going to hold. I do that all. From time to a lure, I always check them.
What do you? We started talking this about a year or two ago, and I think this is true.
Do you believe in new electronics like live imaging and all the pressure deep? Do you believe that makes shallower fishing the less pressured fishing? And I think so. For the last few years, I mean, you look at some of the guys who made a living on it, just fishing shallow. So yeah, it's definitely, for around here, for where we live on the Tennessee River, as far as there's more people fishing out. So definitely those shallow ones are not getting as much pressure as they used to.
You want to go? I want to hear your thought on this, because I got my own thought.
Can you share what an example is of a sneaky spot used to your advantage in a tourney? Sneaky spot, kind of like something you stumble on, might not be a lot of contours, lines around it. Kind of like out of the way, away from everything. Just that's what I consider something sneaky. Just not nothing obvious that you can see on a map and go over there and fish it. That's what I consider kind of sneaky.
We've had sneaky spots on Rayburn, and a sneaky spot isn't necessarily a spot where you're going to go catch like 30 pounds off of, or even like 20 in an elite event. But like I was at, we were at Lay Lake in an open, I guess 2 years ago. And this is one of those deals that really pissed me off. Like, really, this one really pissed me off. So I'm going down. It was the last day of practice, about halfway through the day. And I'm just going down. Usually, you know how it is. I like to go down these random stuff. Like, everyone goes and fishes the good stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, after like 3 days, I start looking around going, okay, what's the worst looking stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm just going to put my head down and go for a mile or two and just see kind of what happens. And that's what happened to me at Lay. Was it Lay? No, Neely Henry. I'm sorry, Neely Henry. And I started going down Neely Henry, and I actually caught him pretty good on day. Not really good, but I mean, I ended up abandoning everything I had and just doing this one pattern. And it wasn't a pattern you should just go because you had to fish a lot of water. But anyways, I'm going down and I see like a shad bust, like far away from the bank. But, you know, some of those flats will run out there really shallow because of how Neely Henry's set up. So I kind of like make my way out there and like, I guess when I got too close, I made some bust. And there's a log under the water right there too, but there's logs kind of everywhere. Anyways, they bust. I'll throw a swim bait out there and catch one, like a 3-pounder, and there's like 7 with it. And I'm just going, what? Like it just ran, you know, just absolutely random. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I go run this a little bit, this pattern, and for like the last 3 hours, and I catch 1 or 2, but I can't wait to pull up there. I pulled up there on day 1 that morning because I was like, man, I'm gonna catch a limit real quick. And some guy starts like 20 yards from it, but doesn't even like throwing at it. He just like, I watched him for like a mile go down. Just, I don't know what he was doing. But I had to wait for him to get out of the way. I had to wait for him to get far enough away so he didn't start to see me catch fish. And I pulled up there, and it was like, man, it was one of those deals where like they would hit it and miss. I threw a Carolina rig. They wouldn't. I ended up catching like 3 or 4 from there. It was not like it was. And they weren't even big. But sneaky spots like that, man, sometimes you leave them. But, man, those places are usually – sometimes it's just like that. And they're usually way off. Sometimes it's for their mistakes. Usually you find them all by mistakes.
And it just depends on like what, you know, is it a sneaky deep spot? Is it a sneaky shallow spot? Is it a place where you can push back in a pond that's a sneaky little pond? I guess that not sure like exactly what the clarification is of what sneaky is, but if you're talking about sneaky ledge fishing, it could be like, you know, like maybe something that's a shallow ledge place or something close to the bank that doesn't stick way out there real obvious. So the less obvious is my sneaky places. OSP Blitz, best crankbait series on earth, especially for smallies. It's a pretty good one, yeah. Pretty good.
Hey, you probably good luck, but
what's the best bait y'all have in the boat by a company you aren't sponsored by? Well, I'm not.
You don't have to answer that one.
Probably chatterbait. I mean, I've caught a lot of money on a chatterbait. I'm not sponsored by them.
Oh, I'll answer that. Whopper Plopper.
Yeah.
Or Chapo. That's a good one. I don't want to keep you too long. I'm gonna see if I got anything else when you end it. What is? Oh, you'll love this question. I can't believe y'all haven't asked. I can't believe y'all haven't asked duck questions. You'll sit here and talk about ducks for 4 hours.
I've got a sneaky Instagram page. I haven't even told anybody I've done. I've got just on like 50 followers. It's just on my farm. It's Foul Habits Farm, and I've got a bunch of blue wing pictures on there where in case anybody don't know, I bought a little farm here at East Tennessee, and just for duck hunting, and we built some levee systems in there on the river bottom, and we hold a few acres of water, and I plant it with rice and millet and corn and sorghum and everything else, and it's pretty much the only thing around. And yeah, we had blue wings that stayed on it till mid-April last year. And what I do after duck season when I'm not fishing is I go down there and take photography. So I got some good photo pictures. Let's see what do you say about Ott? Ott did a good vid on FG, and it was what Mullins said. Ty, that's probably because I told Ott how to do that.
Did you?
Yeah, we were duck hunting. He's got into duck hunting. I was thinking I told him that, but I'm not.
You ain't never invited me duck hunting. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
You're in Texas. It's better down there anyway. You don't want to come up here.
Hey, so I want to do this one. So, I've used live bait one time. I would do it again. It was the most fun thing I had ever witnessed. So we got down here on one of these lakes that was freaking just dumb. And in May, when they got on these perch beds, we couldn't catch them. And they were like 8 to 10 pounders. And you could see them clear as day. Like you'd see them way on up there. There'd be like a group of 3 or 4 of them. I mean, they were monsters. So one day we were like, hey, man, so we got these perch and put them on a cork. And it sucks too. You know how when you go try to catch perch, like you can't catch like a good, like one like that. Like they're all like this big or something.
Yeah.
And so it took us an hour to catch like 12 perch that are like about that size. And I'm telling you, you could throw anything over there you wanted to, and these fish wouldn't eat it, nothing. But you throw a perch over there. This is what taught me about perch bed. Oh, y'all don't like it when I call perch beds, apparently, the brim beds, whatever. Bluegill beds. So, because everyone from the north all thinks I'm talking about yellow perch. Anyways, perch, bluegill, they're all the same to me. So I get over there and we catch them and we throw them out there. And let me tell you something. You know, in clear water, an 8 to 10 pounder, dude, they ain't getting close to you. Like they don't, they want nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. We throw it out there, and man, it just took one. If there's a group of 3 or 4 of them, didn't matter. Even if it was one, if you didn't spook it, like when it hit the water, if one came, here they all come. And they come, and you see these tanks, dude, and this perch starts to go on. You had to get a perch or bluegill that like was lively. You couldn't have one that wasn't right, but if it was lively, and it would start, and if one tried to eat this thing, and it would take off, and I can't tell you how many of these bluegill would swim so fast back to the boat. I mean, you're a long cast, and they'd swim as fast as they can, pulling the cord. They'd be all after them, and we'd have them at the bluegill on the boat, side of the boat like this.
Oh, yeah.
10 pounders are sitting underneath their boat, and they're hitting your boat trying to eat this thing. And I was amazed how like locked in they got, that they didn't care about anything when that was going on. But when you hook, like, I don't care what anyone says, like it wasn't so much of like trying to hook an 8 or 10 pounder. I mean, because we caught them, but it was just to watch it all go down. That was the coolest part, watching it.
We've got some LY in some of our lakes here. We got a little small lake called Boone Lake, and I actually built a 27-gallon bait tank for my jet boat. We would take that out there, and the only time LY I'd go to the banks to spawn, you know, and we would go out there in April when they would start spawning and net them up. And dude, you talking about fun? You'd catch, and you could take shad. We'd net some shad up, but like you could take a shad and throw it out there, and like it wasn't as good. But every LY you threw out there got bit. And the difference is, like a shad, you throw a shad out there and he just kind of swims around and whatever.
Well, and they don't stay alive very long either.
And even if they are alive, they're just swimming around. And LY, everyone you throw out there, and LY is kind of like a blueback, kind of all that same family. It's a herring family. But you throw that sucker out there, and the first thing he does is start digging. And he'll dig straight to the bottom. And, dude, it's funny. You'll sit there and you'll feel him digging. And all of a sudden he'll get real nervous. He'll start pulling real hard, and thump, catch one. And it was some of the fun. Like, you get a bite on every one of them. Some of the funnest I ever did. And we always did in April, right? The smallmouth be pre-spawn and go out there and catch a lot of them. That's only live bait I've ever done.
This guy's talking like, hey, yeah, but man, you got to realize we're still country. I'm going to answer this real quick. Hey, everyone asks me that. All I know is if you go to my homepage, and it works a lot better from a computer, apparently, and there's a button that says join. Other than that, I think if you try to do it on your phone, everyone says you can't do it. But dude, yeah, like I said, I'm not going to go out there and throw. I'm sure it'd kind of be cool maybe with shiners out there in Florida, I guess. But I didn't care about that. I like my whole deal was watching it go down. Like I like being able to see all that stuff.
You don't like it when you're fishing a tournament on Okeechobee and a shiner fisherman pull up. You watch it go down in, it'll break your heart. It's like you just fished through an area, you never had a bite, and they're pulling up 5s and 6s on every freaking shiner they throw out there. You just sunk low, you know. It's crazy.
So he asked this, and then Gary said, I hope not. Well, yeah. So we had a guy in Texas that we had been accusing of cheating for years. He won so much money. Anyways, he eventually got caught at a Bud Light trail. He had stuffed it was a big bass event, and he had stuffed a 1 pound weight in a bass. And it was one of the trails that they had a release tank there that was out in the public, and it was all clear. You know, it was like one of those, so you could see all the fish, and they were dumping just giants in there from this big bass tournament. Anyways, when they threw that thing in there.
One of them never made it off the bottom.
Nope, sunk right to the bottom. And he won the event, obviously, but it didn't matter. So the story goes, I mean, this guy was like, he held a lot of records in Texas for like the most money ever won in bass champs and all these things. He's very, very. Everyone in Texas that fish tournaments knows who it is, and who he was, because ever since that tournament, he's never fished another tournament, and I think he had to move from Texas. Like, it got bad. Like, I'm not saying they were. I think it got bad for him. Like, he couldn't show his face. But anyways, yeah, the game wardens came, and they eventually got that fish, and they were going to kill it and get that weight out. And he did. He stopped him and like massaged its belly, that weight all the way back up, and the fish spit it out. Got it to spit it out. And it was a freaking 1 pound lead sinker. So there you go. Look, I know you probably got to go. I'll let you answer that.
What makes a
Hey,
confidence?
look, man. Hey, that's some good, man. Some guys.
What makes a confidence search bait? I don't know. Something that I've caught a lot of fish on, and it just depends on what cover you're talking about. If it's grass, I have a lot of confidence in throwing a chatterbait around till I find some. If it's muddy and rocky, I have a lot of confidence in throwing some kind of shallow crankbaits. It's just a matter of, of covering water and what you got confidence in. Favorite duck call would definitely be an echo. I know those guys real well, Rick and Jonathan out there, and that's all I blow is echoes.
Perch and bluegill not the same. When you from the south, they are. They're all the same.
No, they ain't. Not this south, son. We got bluegill. We don't have perch.
Just call
perch is north of Mason-Dixon.
Yeah, we just call it's all. They're all the same. We
don't even have brim here. We got bluegill.
Yeah, we got like 1,400 different. I got 14 different brim like around here.
Yeah,
little perch. I mean, perch is perch. We call it perch jerking. When you're a kid, you're out there perch jerking.
No,
the brim jerking just ain't the same.
All bluegill fishing.
No, perch jerking. Like I said, it's all the same.
That's Gary West right there. He knows.
All right. I'm sure you got to go.
I don't care. I've got plenty of time.
What? I don't know what's going on. Yeah, like I didn't want to say it. But that's what was going on.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, if somebody got caught cheating, there definitely wouldn't be.
Yeah, but you got to realize, like, we all have stories about the guy. Russell's got a really good one too. But I mean, everyone got beat by him, and they were the getting beat on lakes. Like, he was an all-time money winner in bass champs, and it was insane how much. And he was winning it by himself, and like, second place would be 17. He'd have 32. And it was like, I think there's another story on Falcon where he went down there, and a Falcon, like when Falcon was good, and he went down there and they had a camera on him, and he either was like catching a bunch of twos or something. Anyways, the cameraman guy finally left. Anyways, he rolls in like 30 minutes left in the day, and he rolls in there with like a 10, all of a sudden, a whole bunch of twos and a 10. I mean, it was just, and like I said, I mean, he got caught. Like everyone, we had some guys down here. We had some people down here doing it a couple years ago. And what makes us mad about some of that stuff is we had told them all, like, hey, by the way, this guy that's doing it, he's like the best fisherman that's ever lived in Rayburn, Toledo. Never heard of him before, but this guy did more in 2 years that no one had ever done on Rayburn in like 15. Yeah. It was like every big tournament they won, and Rayburn, it didn't matter. Both lakes, summertime, it didn't matter what it was. And I told him, and people everyone knew it, but I was a little bit mad about the directors, because I was like, dude, y'all got to do something. They finally put
an observer in his boat,
Well, yeah, but it shouldn't take you $200,000 to do it by winning $20,000 and $50,000 events over and over again. Yeah, and they finally did it. Of course, they caught nothing, and I always told them, I said, y'all aren't gonna freaking catch them. like it's too late now. And what's going to happen is they're going to be gone, out of sight, out of mind. Watch what happens. They put that deal in there. No one's ever seen them again. And everyone's like, well, you call it. Well, we didn't catch them. All they did was steal about $200,000 from everyone, and no one's going to get that money back.
Yeah. America was built on forgiveness and second chances, but you let somebody get caught in a fishing tournament, it's over with.
No, I know.
Hard coming back from that one, pal.
Look, see that? Look, they know. Like that. This guy knows. I mean, he knows. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. We caught up to the comments. Whew. Well, what do you got going? Last 5 minutes before my computer dies. What you got going on anytime in the next couple weeks?
Shoot, man, it's leave for South Dakota. I think next Wednesday. It'll take a couple days to drive out there.
Oh, is that close?
22 hours. Yeah.
No. I mean, I didn't realize it was next week.
Yeah, I leave next week. I think practice starts that Sunday, and get done with that. Go drive straight to La Crosse to fish the Mississippi River, and as soon as that's over with, drive straight home. Get everything ready for dove season. I should be home the end of like the 28th, 29th. We're going dove hunt that weekend. We usually have a big old deal. Have a barbecue and cook out and get a bunch of local fishermen together, and we have a dove shoot and probably do some goose hunting that morning, and that's pretty much all I got planned. As far as the next 4 weeks.
My daughter she plays that game that you don't like, you know,
non-American. Yeah.
Yeah. She don't mean mug me. She's looking at me. You need to be in bed anyways. She broke her toe the other day.
Right, at church.
And I'm gonna try to figure out. I went and talked to the coach, and I was like, hey, and all the dads were up there, and I was like, hey, who let this coach put a freaking tournament over opening weekend of dove season? And they're like, he does it every year. I'm like,
oh man.
Well, dang it. So the problem is, I don't know if I'm gonna miss it or not. Don't look at me like that. No, not the dove hunt. Your tournament. And I don't know if I can miss her. I'm gonna have to go call my buddy up because this same deal, man. I love dove hunting. Like,
oh yeah, it's a good time.
It's just like, especially
hunting and good fellowship. That's what we like about it, and good eating too. We eat really good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my daughter's over there giving me permission to miss her game, but I think that's going to be her first game back from injury. But she probably won't play. Like, she knows she probably won't play that much because, like, can't just come off a broken something and be like, hey, you're starting, a couple days later and freaking run for an hour.
She's on the injured reserve list.
Yeah. But
yeah, that's all I got. So it's a good end of the year. So hopefully we can finish it out strong. And
I'll have if you don't mind doing this, I think everyone liked this. So I mean, I didn't know if y'all got to realize that me and Mullins have known each other now for 6, something like that.
Yeah.
I can't ever get a read on him sometimes. So I didn't know if he'd be like, I ain't doing none of that stuff. No, you're actually like, no, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
We'll get Hallman on because, man, I want Hallman and you to go. I want Hallman because Hallman will start going. He knows a lot of, like, I don't get to hear all the Hallman stories either about, like, the elites.
Yeah.
And, like, when he was on there and, like, the personalities of certain stuff. So it's always funny to me when he gets to going about things. But I'm sure y'all know a lot of the same people. Like, even, like, within the – not even, like, the anglers. Like, even the people that work there, just how some of that stuff went down. I bet you it'll be pretty good. He's in Vegas right now, though.
Nice. That's nice.
So
yeah, thanks for having me on. Y'all,
yeah, I appreciate it,
Bradley, and have a good time.
All right. Well, I'll see y'all guys.